Today's episode of the No Fun City podcast is brought to you by Questrade. There's a new world of investing where the fees are low and you come first. It's time to switch. Head over to questrade.com to check out do-it-yourself, self-directed investing. Take matters into your own hands, build your own investment portfolio with a self-directed account, and save on fees. Make your money work harder. Questrade is Canada's fastest growing online brokerage with over 21 years experience in the Canadian market, $18 billion in assets under administration, and a 9-time winner of the best managed companies in Canada. And you could rest assured knowing that your money is in good hands. They go above and beyond to protect your account with an additional $10 million in private insurance, so you know your money is safe. For more information, check out questrade.com. Just use the link in the description below. On to our show. Welcome to the No Fun City podcast, episode 19. Got a little bit of housekeeping to do. Normally we've got like so many different sponsors on the channel and I try to highlight them all. But this week, although, you know, I love all my sponsors and shout out to Questrade and all that, but today I'm going to give a shout out to Parks Canada. I got a Parks Canada mug right here. I bought this sucker. I think you could even get them off the Parks Canada website, but if you buy a Parks Canada mug or any product off them, part of the proceeds go back to the parks and Parks Canada and like just doing things for, I guess, our national parks. So if you're thinking about getting a mug for yourself or just any products, I highly recommend supporting our parks and our national parks. And quick shout out to Parks Canada again. It's a dope mug. I like it. It's my new favorite mug.
Support
I have a lot
the
of
park.
them. Yeah, but today we got a really interesting guest and an interesting topic. Revolves around music. Pop music, to be in fact. And with me today is, I guess, pop artist Dallas Rodin.
Hello.
Rodin.
Thank you so much for having me.
I almost said Rodin.
It's okay. It's honestly everyone goes with Rodin.
Yeah.
Rodin.
So real quick, you go by your real name? Because I know a lot of people in the entertainment industry, they go by stage names.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
No, Dallas is my real name. I was named after a hockey player. I'm from Canada. So are you? I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
100% Vancouver. Oh,
yeah.
I should mention that you are from Toronto.
Yeah, I'm from Toronto. Yeah. So I was actually named after a hockey player, and I have 3 brothers. We all have super unique, weird names. Dallas is probably the most common of them all, but it's my real name.
Yeah, that's cool. When I heard your name, it actually reminded me of City and Color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dallas Green,
Big
which
fan.
I think he has a cool name. And then also his band name that sort of like followed that. It's like City and Color, and his name is a city and a color.
I
right?
never put two.
Did you not know that?
I never put 2 and 2 together. Oh my god, that's nuts!
Isn't that a little clever?
Yeah, that's
right?
so clever. I never put 2 and 2 together. Wow.
Yeah. So today, talking about pop music. Real quick, I always like to dive into the childhood.
Oh, okay.
First.
Let's go.
Yeah, because I'm always curious if a person's childhood sort of led into what they're actually doing now. Mm-hmm. That's quite interesting. So could you give me a bit of background about how you ended up just loving or getting into pop music or music in general? Mm-hmm. I know you went to New York to study musical theater, things like that. But before that, was music a huge passion of yours, or is it something that came up like when you grew older?
Honestly, I feel like it was a mix of both because I actually started writing songs when I was 6, and I got my first guitar when I was 6 as well. So no one in my family is like musically gifted or talented in any way. So I feel
that's kind of you to say.
I mean, I'm keeping it real. I mean, like 2 of my brothers love to sing. Everyone will sing, but it was never like a passion of anyone's other than my own. And I feel like I just sort of threw myself into it, and I started taking a couple of lessons here and there. But yeah, it was sort of just on my own, and I never really thought it would sort of lead into, a career growing up, because I was always that kid that was like worried about the future and anxious, and I always wanted to go to school and study something like marine biology. So I never really took it seriously per se until high school when I started doing musicals, and I just loved the feeling of being on stage. And just kind of took it from there and ran with it, and I've been doing it ever since. So, yeah.
So it kind of found you in a sense.
Yeah, basically.
A lot of people find their passion, but a lot of other people, it finds them.
Yeah, I mean, I was always songwriting. I was always, practicing and singing, but I never really took it seriously until I came back from New York, basically.
Mm-hmm. So when you went to New York for musical theater, was it just, you graduated from high school and you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna dive into this, you know what I mean? Or, was that a goal of yours?
It was a goal. I mean, like, once I started doing musicals in high school, I was like, this is all I want to do. I'm going to apply to one school and one school only. If I get in, I'm going to go. If not, I'm going to take the year off and sort of figure out what it is that I want to do. So I applied, I got into the one school, and if I'm being honest, I felt like a fraud getting into that school because growing up, I never really had, my Royal Conservatory. Like, I wasn't classically trained. I just sort of went with pop sort of vocals instead of this like Broadway-esque sort of vibe to me. And I feel like when you look at it, it could be a benefit or it could kind of be a disadvantage depending on the musical you would get casted in. But I definitely learned a lot from that school. But yeah, I feel like it did find me in a lot of ways. But once I kind of reached that age of figuring out what it is I wanted to do, I knew this was the career I wanted to be in.
Mm-hmm. So musical theater, you get that done. You come back to Toronto, and right away is this, I'm going to start like doing my music career right off the bat? Or was it sort of an aftersight of, okay, I did this, I'm done, I'm going to jump into what most people would call the real world and, get a 9-to-5 job. And then eventually somehow you led back to music. Do you understand?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It was a mix of both. I came back and I just realized I didn't really want to pursue Broadway per se at that point in my life. I really wanted to focus more on writing my own music, performing my own music. I felt like I lost touch with my roots a bit when I had gone to New York just because I was studying a lot of, like I said, musicals, Broadway. I wasn't creating myself. So I felt like I lost a bit of my identity there, and I kind of wanted to jump back into doing my own thing. At the time, I was working at the Keg as a server, so I was doing the whole like studio during the day, working at night, and eventually it just kind of like led to another, and I've just been grinding with the music now, and that's about it.
How do you sort of go about, I guess, creating your songs? Because you're also a songwriter, right? A lot of pop artists don't write their own music. Yeah. I'm assuming in this case, you do write your own music, correct? Like the lyrics and everything, correct? Everything. So how do you get started in actually writing a song? Like, what's your process? Because I know in every industry or just everybody in their personal way has their own way of doing things. Like, I'm a graphic designer by trade. The way I design a logo or make a brand or something like that might be much more different than how somebody else goes about doing it. So in your personal process, is there anything different that you do, or are you more on the technical side of things, like maybe how you were taught or trained to write? And then also, how do you go about creating the songs in the sense of the actual topic or subject matter that you're discussing?
Yeah, crazy question. Okay, let's get into it.
Two-part question too.
Where to start? I mean, I'll say like I'm pretty blessed because I work with a very small but gifted team. My producer Adam and I are like this. We work very hand in hand with each other. But I do write all my own music. Besides, like if Adam, tags in and whatever, we sort of are the founders of my music. It's only us. And my process, there's no training to it. It's all just with the flow, basically. I go into the studio. I never really go in being like, this is the topic and the concept I want to write about. I feel like I kind of want to leave it up to the chords and the beat that we sort of create to sort of guide me in the direction. And it is funny because when I reflect on it and I go back and look at those songs, it's crazy how influential they are to that moment in my life without me knowing that I was writing about that, if that makes sense. So basically I write...
No, totally.
Yeah, I'll write a song, kind of be like, oh, this is a sick concept. And then like months later be like, I literally was going through this, but didn't even know I was writing a song about this.
So a
I
lot
right?
of times the beat comes first for you. Like you have to listen to the sort of like the basic sample or track that's been
Yeah.
created and kind of get a vibe of it.
Basically just
Then
a
you create the
simple
words.
chord, yeah, like a simple chord progression. I never want to start with anything that's like super built up. We keep it super simple to start, and then I just basically go off with melodies and lyrics at the same time. I find the melodies and I hum a lot of random gibberish, and sometimes it starts with Adam being like, yo, did you just say blah 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 blah? And I'll be like, no, but that's a sick concept, and then kind of go off of that. Yeah, it changes every time. There's no like specific way I like to write. I just sort of go in, want to feel the vibe first, just be chill, and then I get in the booth, I sing, I do my thing, and then Adam goes in and produces the track. And if I'm lucky, I'll sit in and sort of be like, I think we should do this here and this here. So I've definitely been touching in on like my production side of music.
All right. So what are the, I guess, like, because I'm sure there are a lot of difficulties when it comes to not just creating music, but being a musical artist. Like just even, for example, getting noticed becomes difficult, right? Like I have a simple podcast and it's tough enough to even get noticed on a podcast platform. I can't imagine trying to become a musical artist and sort of like present myself to the world on a global stage. And then also, in a sense, not that you're competing with other musicians and artists, but you kind of are at the same time for a bit of spotlight. So, what are some of the struggles, or I guess the difficulties when it comes to actually doing that? And then also, I guess being a female in general, does that affect? Like, do the struggles become more difficult as a female in the music industry, or is it a little more easier on females than it is on males in the musical industry? So, yeah, what are just some of the issues that you run into and some of the difficulties that you found to be, I guess, like roadblocks for you in your path?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. Where do I even start with that? Okay, so I guess I should start off by saying I've really only been doing this for, it would be like going on 3 years now. So, and I'm an independent artist. So as I go along, I'm figuring it out all on my own with Adam, of course. Like I said, we're kind of like a duo when it comes to my music, and he does manage a lot of my business. So we both sort of take care of a lot of situations that come into play, and networking and all of that. Struggles, I mean, yeah, it's always a struggle. I feel like the biggest thing Adam and I always say is like, you can't put your career into someone else's hands and expect them to just do all the work for you. Like, I want to stay an independent artist as long as possible. That way I can keep all my royalties on, like, everything that comes my way is going to me and like my small team that I have here. Like, I'm not looking to sort of split that with a label right now. If the opportunity arises, of course, a deal has to be put into place first. But the struggle is just honestly getting out there. I mean, like right now, I would say the biggest struggle is live shows not being a thing. I had my biggest headlining show in March of the beginning of this year, and a week out to the show is when everything kind of struck with COVID. So I had to cancel, and that was pretty devastating because I had planned that show for like months. And we had a lot of booking agents coming out and all sorts of things arranged. And it definitely kind of put a hold back on like the plans for the year. But we're just sort of rolling with the punches right now. I feel like a lot of musicians are all on the same sort of level of how we're having to deal with no live shows, because that is like your biggest revenue as an artist is live shows. So yeah, I mean, definitely getting those no's back from a couple of people. But for me, I like to take that and sort of put it into perspective and be like, okay, why is this person saying no to me? Like, what can I learn from what they're saying about my music? Maybe I can take that and figure it out while still keeping my music me and making sure it's original and authentic. I'd say that's pretty much like the biggest struggle.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring COVID up, but you touched on that a little bit. The one thing that I did find is that your tracks are quite different from each other. Maybe not necessarily in the lyrics, but like as far as the beats and the music. So going back on what you just said, how much influence do you have on the different aspects of, I guess, like your career or your music? So when it comes to, for example, even the music videos, they're all different as well. So how much say do you have when it comes to, I guess, production value? I mean, I know you work with Adam, who's your producer. So does he take over control of all of those factors, or is this something that you still have say in? I know a lot of artists like maybe are like in like with a Sony label or you know, like one of those big huge labels. Everything tends to be done for them, and they might have a little bit of input on certain things, but for the most part it's kind of like they just show up and you know, they kind of do, okay, we're doing this is what your album cover is going to look like, this is you know, who's going to produce your songs and all this jazz, and you kind of got to sit and go with the flow. But when it comes to you and your music, how much say do you have when it comes to, I guess, the music video or album covers, different aspects and elements that are outside of the song itself?
Yeah, I pretty much have final say in everything. And in terms of like the music and the music videos, I would say I come up with a lot of those topics, if not all of them. But I trust and honor like Adam's opinion as well. And we sort of bounce ideas off one another. So it's never like just my plans and ideas for how I want to roll out to go. But for instance, if we're talking about something like Nightmare, which was my latest release, I definitely had a lot of control in that. I knew going into that song how I wanted the music video to roll out, who I wanted to direct it. I knew that I wanted a red and black theme. I wanted to release it around Halloween time. So I do have a lot of say in all of this, which I love. And I also have a lot of say in production with my music. Adam, I do trust. He goes in, does his thing, blows it out of the park. I'll go in and sort of suggest a couple of things, but it's very rare that I go in and I'm like, I hate this. I think we need to start over. I don't think I've ever said that to him. I feel like he understands my brain and knows what I like, what I want to hear. And yeah, kind of touching on what you said, my music from one song to the other is different, but I feel like I'm building this cohesive sound that's very different compared to like everything that's out there right now. I kind of want to, you know, push boundaries and be out of the box. I don't want to just sort of release the same sort of pop music you're hearing on the radios. I want change in pop music and building a diverse like genre of pop. So that's what I
Which is funny because I wanted to bring that up. Like, I mean, I haven't listened to pop music since I was probably in middle school or high school.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
What do you usually listen to?
Like hip hop or,
Okay.
you know, a lot of old school stuff, De La Soul, hieroglyphics. If it's newer stuff, it's like stuff like the XX, for example,
Okay, cool.
local band actors. So I listen to a variety of things. The only thing that I don't really enjoy is, like mainstream pop is a huge beef of mine. And then country music for some reason. It just all sounds the same. I'm sorry, country music listeners. Like, I just I don't get it. But okay, you know, like I don't hate on you for listening to it. It's just I can't for the life of me listen to that. But the one thing that, and I did want to bring this up with you too, was that I did notice that when listening to your music. I'm like, because at first I'm like, oh, pop artist. I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy this, but somebody does, right? But I listen to your tracks. I'm like, oh, these are actually like awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're really good. And I'm not just saying that because you're here now or whatever. I would tell you, I'd be like, no, I'm just not into pop music, whatever. But in all seriousness, I did notice that vibe. I found like there's this sort of independent feel that I get from, for example, the XX, the same sort of thing. They're more popular now, but when they were independent, you really kind of felt that in the sound and the way the songs were played and how they were made and created. And I kind of get that vibe with you. And it sort of opened my eyes that, you know, not all pop music is this sort of, I guess, hyped up and filtered, sort of like processed sound. It could be really real, you know, and that's what I got. That's the vibe that I got from your sound. But how much of your technical musical training came into play here? Because I know in the entertainment industry and in the music industry, you know, you talk about things like Broadway and musicals and all these things. And even going into acting, for example, a lot of the more profound actors, you know, they do have this technical training, but then there are actors who come in and, you know, they just moved to Hollywood, and then they just ended up getting a role and it worked out for them. But you do find this higher level, you know, when you're comparing the two, between an actor who's done Broadway, done musicals, and then went into acting, into film. They tend to be just a bit more polished. So do you find that your technical skills in the musical training that you received, like when you went to school, for example, really did benefit you that much? Or do you think that when it comes to music and when it comes to creating, if you've just got that talent in you, it kind of defeats the purpose of having to go to school? In other words, do you have to go to school to get technical training to become a musician, for example?
Good question. I would feel like for me, subconsciously, it plays a part in my music without me even realizing that. And I only say that because I was training with a vocal coach, and she's heavily, was training me to be a performer. So she wasn't really training me vocally. She was like, this is how you sort of want to be when you're on stage. And one struggle that she kept bringing up was like, you keep wanting to do these like vibrato pieces, which is a very Broadway-esque thing to do with that. And I wasn't really understanding, like, the shape of my mouth was dropping the same way that I would do if I was singing like in a musical. Whereas when you are singing pop, you're like, the vocal palette is at a very different place, if that makes sense. So yes and no. I feel like, going to school, it helped me. I don't regret going. I feel like I definitely now can sort of take bits and pieces of what I learned and apply it to, my stage presence, or if I need a certain thing when I'm, in the booth recording. But at the same time, you're right. Like, you can just get lucky. And if you have the talent and you have the nerve and the balls to sort of get out there, you don't need school if, you're going to make it on your own and you're making a successful career for yourself. So I feel like it's really a preference thing. I appreciate the fact that I was able to go to school and study musical theater, but you don't always necessarily need to do that.
Is there a reason why you went to New York specifically?
It's funny enough, I actually got into a school in LA. So they have a campus in New York and they have a campus in LA. And I went, and LA's always where I wanted to be. I definitely want to move there one day. But I went out to visit, and I just had the worst panic attack, being like, I can't make this move right now. Like, I'm such a homebody. So I was like, there's no way I can do this. Maybe I should go look at the New York campus. And when I went there, I felt so much better. And not only that, I actually got to live with my best friend, and in grade 5 we had actually written down, and like, when you used to get like an agenda in school or something that basically you write your homework and whatever, that sort of deal. In grade 5, her and I had written down, we are going to study, we're going to go live in New York City. I'm going to study singing, you're going to study dance by the time we graduate. So, and we ended up doing that, which was crazy. And we lived together and we had the best time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Going back to LA, because that's actually something I was going to ask you, was a lot of times people in the entertainment industry will want to, or sort of be forced to move to LA or New York. Like, we know those are two huge hubs. Like, even YouTubers, I've seen YouTubers move to LA or New York to sort of kickstart their YouTube career, for example, right? So how important is it to make those moves? And then also, how difficult is it to stay in Toronto? Or is it any different at all?
Yeah, there's definitely a big difference. And I'm now sort of seeing the difference in my 3rd year, per se, like in this career path. But I feel like LA has so much more to offer. That's not to say that you can't make it in Toronto. I feel like right now Toronto is a hotspot for rising new talent, and a lot of people are looking at Toronto to be like, okay, who's the next big thing coming out of this city? But LA is just a different vibe overall, and my team and I have been several times for like months on end to just sort of go and work with artists and get experience out there, network a bit. But yeah, that's the place to be for sure. I feel like my goal is to be able to kind of do a half and half situation. I want to be able to still live in Toronto, make music here, but also have that ability to, fly out to LA, live there for a bit, make music there, whatever I got to do. So that's just like kind of like my overall goal. Obviously, if I have to make the move, I'm going to make the move. That doesn't scare me now or bother me. But eventually I'd like to be able to sort of live here, live there, make music in both places.
Yeah. LA would be awesome. So I wouldn't move to New York, to be honest.
Living there after
I don't like New York.
Yeah, living there after a year, I would say the same. It's funny because when I was living there, I sort of resented it. I was so busy in school that I never got to go out and just travel around and explore. I was always in classes. So, but moving back here to Toronto, I realized like, I miss New York, but I don't think I could ever live there again as well.
Yeah, I've been there a few times just to visit a few weeks on end. And every time I went there, I'm like, how do people live here?
Yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy.
By the end of a week in New York, especially in the summertime, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, it's definitely a crazy vibe there.
Yeah, well, it's just, I remember getting out of my hotel. Like, I just showered everything, getting out of my hotel, and instantly it was just so hot and humid and just muggy, like in 10 minutes my body was just sweaty and like sticky and gross. I remember every day I was taking like 2 showers a day,
and then you see all the grime just sort of come off of you from the streets. Yeah. And my school required us to wear a full face of makeup all day. So as a girl, that was just like a struggle and a half, because you are just like, the second you walk outside, you're sweating that shit off. Like it is not fun.
Yeah, so I just resented New York for that. I just, go to New York in the fall and stick to that plan. But otherwise, I do not plan to go to New York ever again in the summer. It's just too much.
Yeah.
But like, going back on some struggles, because I know every artist has different struggles. What's maybe, I guess, like a few notes or maybe a few pieces of advice or I guess insight that you could give to somebody who's maybe in the process of trying to do what you do now, or maybe doesn't have the musical technical skills, but is looking to go to school, looking to really go down that career path? What is early on advice you would give to somebody kind of looking to follow your footsteps?
Right off the bat, I would say the first sort of piece of advice I'd give is try and find people that you can trust. In this industry, it's very, very difficult. And like I said, I was very blessed to right away sort of find my team and the people that I like to create with in all aspects of my career. Because even my graphic designers are people that I grew up with. So they know my vision and I trust them wholeheartedly that when I give them a project that they're going to ace it. And so, as an independent artist starting out, you don't know as much going into this career and this industry, and you just need to find people that you 100% can trust and build, from there, because it's difficult, and doing this by yourself and doing this independently, even with a team, is difficult. So just having the right people to keep you in check and build with them is the right way to go, I would say.
Tell me about it. I totally hear that, because for this podcast, I do everything myself. And it's hard. And it's just like, this is just a podcast. It's not even writing songs. It's not even producing stuff. So I can't imagine the amount of work that goes into everything you and Adam do, for example. And the fact that you have a team behind you, I'm sure that obviously really helps. But like with everything, there always, even in like what I do, there's always haters, right? And I always like to talk about haters because that's like the most negative, I would say, aspect of especially the entertainment industry, right? Like we always see, where there could be a million positive comments or anything like that, or fans. There's always a small group of people who will hate on what you do no matter what. So have you ever dealt with quote unquote haters? And then also, like, how do you go about dealing with people that maybe perceive your music negatively, or give you like negative feedback, or maybe don't believe in you as much, or maybe you, I don't know, like online or anything, if they're like comments that you've read or anything like that? Like I haven't looked into it or anything, but has there been anything like that where you've kind of like seen something or just felt negative hate from, I guess, the general public? And then how do you go about dealing with that as an artist? Because I can imagine in entertainment, as you get more popular, that becomes a bit of a problem, you know? And we see, I'm not going to compare you to any pop artists because I don't like comparing apples to oranges type of thing. Everyone's different in their own way. But we do see it in the world of entertainment where, you know, one day for 15 minutes, somebody is getting hated on due to some article or whatever, right? So how do you go about dealing with those kinds of, I guess, PR situations?
I mean, I feel like there's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people who are going to pick you apart and do all of the, you know, the little negative things to try and like tear you down. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm my biggest hater. I'm so hard on myself sometimes, and it really is, you know, draining even for me because it just makes me feel more like vulnerable in a negative way, not in a like, it's okay to be vulnerable and show people who you truly are. It can be very draining, obviously. I've obviously had like the one or two sort of comments that, you know, touch on my appearance or my music. And in the past, I would say the biggest, you know, negative that I ever took actually sort of helped me figure out my sound as an artist. I was in a meeting with this one industry figure who is pretty important, and I played him a couple of my songs, and he's like, yeah, you got the look, you got the voice, but your music's all over the place. Like, and he wasn't, you know what, he wasn't really hating per se, he was just really giving me like constructive criticism. But at the time I was just like, F this guy, like he doesn't know what he's talking about, like I work so hard. But, you know, reflecting on it, I was sort of, how can I take this and run with it and sort of build something off of it? So he really is the reason I took 2019 off to sort of build my catalog and build my sound and figure out a different way to put music out that doesn't sound like anything else that's out there right now. And that's the one thing I can really say about my music is I listen to pop music all the time. I feel like I'm the opposite of you. I mean, I listen to everything, but pop music is the genre I would probably listen to the most. And I don't hear anything like my music, and I can confidently say that. And that's because I took the time to sort of build this new powerful sound, and it's all because of that one comment this guy made. So, you know, there's always going to be haters, there's always going to be negative comments, but you can take that and make a positive out of it. So that's what I got to say to that.
Just take it with a grain of salt or whatever, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Which sort of, I guess, goes back to your sound because it is quite eclectic in the sense that we talked about how each song is slightly different in the way it's perceived in sound. And I totally agree with you. Like when I listened to your songs, I was kind of like, yeah, this is something I haven't heard before in pop music. And I was trying for the life of me to kind of get a feel of, you know, maybe like what other artists you reminded me of, or like, you know, where maybe you pulled your inspiration. So where do you pull your inspiration from to create the music that you create?
Before I answer that, who were some of the people that came to mind?
I don't want to say because then I don't want you to be like,
no, I won't. I won't react that way.
Okay, so it was a mix of 3 female artists that I pinned it down on.
Okay.
All right. So it's not any one of these, but I feel like it's all 3. So the first one I got was a little bit of Ellie Goulding. Do you know who she is?
Of course, yeah.
She's like from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got a little bit of like a Lady Gaga kind of vibe, maybe like early Lady Gaga.
Okay.
Right. Then the third one I got mainly just because I feel like, okay, you're Canadian, and then also not that you look like this person, but you kind of have the same vibe, is Nelly Furtado.
That's crazy that you say that, because a lot of people have been saying that about Nelly Furtado now, especially because her and Timbaland were such a like duo, and that's sort of like Adam and I. So
yeah,
definitely on that one, I would still say I don't think Lady Gaga and I have the same sort of vocal caliber at all. Like, she's crazy, but she's very experimental.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the vocal aspect, but definitely like the feel.
Yeah, she's experimental in her music, so I would agree with that one too. But yeah, honestly, growing up, I listened to everything. I listened to a lot of pop punk and like different genres. I definitely, Nelly Furtado was up there. I listened to a lot of like Evanescence, Blink-182, Green Day. My mom played like all genres of music. So I love all kinds of music. In my later years, I would say some of my biggest influences. Do you know who Banks is?
No.
You should check her out.
I feel bad.
No, not at all. I mean,
okay.
You should check her out. She's like pop alternative. She opened for The Weeknd a couple years ago.
Okay.
So she's pretty dope. Love her music. She's also very experimental in her production, her lyrics, her melodies. So that's why I love her, because damn, she's so talented. But yeah, I don't know. Like a lot of my inspiration just comes from sort of within, per se. Like Adam, in terms of production, I would say a lot of it is Adam's creativity. And I feel like being beside him over the last 3 years, I've learned a lot from him. And I can now pinpoint what it is that I like to hear, and the difference in sounds and things like drums specifically. Like I can now be like, okay, I love the hi-hats in here. Why don't we try this with something else? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, I love Billie Eilish, Banks, like I said. I do love Ariana Grande, but she's just sort of like a pop icon right now. Who else? Rihanna is a big one for me. I love her, just her essence as an artist. But yeah, I feel like my music's in its own lane. As much as I have all these different influences, I feel like they all sort of, you know, filled a little piece of the puzzle for me.
100%. Going back on COVID real quick, because I mean, we hope, I guess, that the most of the negative impact of COVID is kind of like dissipating, and this upcoming year will sort of be more of a transformation for us than 2020 was. But moving forward, how are you going about dealing with the situation that we're currently in? And then, like, what are your plans for this upcoming year as far as working around COVID? If you're not doing live shows, then what could you do to sort of, I guess, get your, music out there?
This year was tough. I mean, I didn't release as much music as I wanted to, but at the same time, we didn't know what to expect with releases. I was kind of scared to put anything out because it was such a sensitive time, especially in those early months when everything sort of came about. And I was just way too scared to be like, what if someone gets offended by this? And, so I just sort of refrained from that and decided, why don't we just build a plan for when things start to settle down and move from there? So I would say, like, moving forward, I have a lot in the plans. I have a live show, a live stream, I should say, that I'm planning for. And we're going to film it as like a live show. And so that's a big one for me. We're going to do like a live off the floor as well for a bunch of releases that'll be coming out in 2021. I have one more release that I'm getting out on Christmas, actually. I'm releasing a song. And I would say, like, the biggest thing that has helped me this year is I dropped the first piece from my merch line. I'm actually wearing it. It's a sweater.
Oh, yeah. The sweater.
Yeah, so these
I
sweaters
saw that. That was dope. The thunderstorm sweater. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So
cool.
These sweaters were supposed to be at my concert at the Mod Club, but obviously we couldn't do that. So yeah, they've been selling out, and it's been sick. So I can't wait to like expand the merch line. I have so much in store that I'm just like super excited to get everything out there.
Nice. So you got a few different directions and avenues that you're going to take. These online streams, because we've been seeing them happen with like other musical artists and even comedians. They've been doing like live stream shows. Do you feel like there's a lack of, I guess, intimacy when it comes to doing them through the live stream? Do you know what I mean? Like when you're at a concert or at a show, there's that environment, there's the ambiance. There's the lighting, the music is sort of all around you. When you're watching it on live stream, it's like on your laptop or on your desktop or on an iPad or on a phone. So the environment becomes different. How do you go about making sure that when you're doing this, live stream event or whatever, it still somehow feels immersive?
Yeah, there's 100% like a disconnect in terms of being able to be there and feel the ambiance and like the energy of the crowd and the audience. But, making it feel sort of connected, like for me, I will talk to a screen and, still sort of try and build this like relationship, if that makes sense, through the screen to fans or people who are just starting to hear my music and wanting to get to know me better. Adam and I are still in the works of planning this live stream, and I don't want it to be like everything else that's sort of been out there right now. So I still want to make it somehow immersive, and like we're like working on that. So it's definitely going to be a different element for sure. I want to sort of add I want to get sponsors still involved. I want to make sure that, there's maybe other independent artists in Toronto who want to join and open. I just want to get the word out and share the music. So yeah, we're planning that right now, and hopefully early New Year we'll be able to have that live for everyone.
And where is that going to be posted? Is that going to be on your YouTube, or is that going to be on a streaming service?
We're thinking actually my website. So I do have, I have a website on there, and we're thinking of hosting it through the website. So I think that would be sick because, it's attached to my merch and everything else. So people can still check out who I am and other music if they want to. So I feel like it'll be a good thing.
Nice. And then you could also leave it there. Like you could just keep doing them and just leave them there on one of the pages, like whatever, and people just can go watch it at any time. Yeah. But is this something that people, for example, let's say I want to watch, do I like pay like $5 or $10 or $20 or whatever and I get in on the stream, or is it just free for everybody? And then how does that affect your profits? Because obviously, you do this out of love. I do the podcast out of love, but at the end of the day, making money is also part of the goal, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
What do you do in these cases?
We're still working out price. It definitely there's going to be a price in order to watch the show. But for me, I'm just like, if you support me, it's not like I'm asking crazy money right now. If you support me as an artist, I'm independent, like I said. So every little thing counts for me. And I appreciate this beyond what anyone could understand. So it's only going to, spread more, and word of mouth. Hopefully a lot more people will be watching. And yeah, like you said, it's really difficult right now without live shows to be making an income. So
it's interesting though, because like if people are finding creative different avenues to work around it.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So doing these live shows on your website will sort of like help with that, and merch and like other aspects really comes into play. Do me a favor, if this event happens before we launch the podcast, maybe send me the link, and what I'll do is I'll put in the description of this video down below. Yeah. So for anyone catching this, they could go watch it.
That'd be
right after the podcast.
Yeah, 100%. I will definitely keep you updated.
So, okay, you're going to do the live show then, or the live stream show. After that, if that's successful, do you continue doing these live stream shows, like, I don't know, month to month? Or do you think the plan is to just do a one-off and just move on?
So I'm planning on doing one big one, because I've been rehearsing with my band for the last year, actually. And even through COVID, once restrictions obviously, stopped for a bit, we got back into the studio and the rehearsal spot, and we were jamming for a while. So we're ready. And you know what? As soon as live shows can start up again, we're ready to tour. We're ready to just get out there, festivals, any sort of live show that's going on. We're going to be reaching out and networking and trying to get on top of these. So yeah, I'm just hoping live shows can come back within 2021, like they said. But who really knows?
Like I'm sure that would be of great help, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Even this, like the podcast, I never wanted to do over Zoom. Like early on, I had done a couple episodes over Skype and Zoom, and I'm just like, it lacks a little bit of intimacy. I like to have the person in the room with me. And early on, I'm like, I'm not doing episodes on Zoom anymore. You have to just come in live, like that's it. But then when COVID happened, like, I thought it was just going to be a 1 month thing, a 2 month thing.
I know.
3 months went by and I hadn't done a podcast, and I'm like, okay, if I don't do a podcast now, like then it's like a ghost town, like it's over. So I had no choice. I did a couple more Zoom episodes, and then I just made it sort of open-ended. I'm like, you could either come in or you could do it through Zoom. It's up to you. Now I've kind of gone more on the Zoom aspect because, you know, like we kind of hit that second wave. But I think on into the new year, it's just going to be whichever, right? Like however you see fit. I mean, I'm just one person in a room with someone else. We're sitting 2 meters apart anyway. But I can imagine, like, obviously, in a concert situation, it's different.
Yeah, and having like to respect someone, because everyone has a different opinion, you know, about COVID and what they're comfortable with. So you just have to kind of like respect that and still try and work around, you know, situations like that so that you can still get your podcast out, for instance. Even for me, it's like let's say one of my bandmates just isn't comfortable with getting together because of the numbers going up. Like I have to respect that as the leader of the band, and I have to find different ways that we can sort of still jam and get practice in. So it's difficult, but you still got to get shit done.
Oh, 100%. I agree with you. And that's the thing. That's like the, you know, the adaptation, you know, adapting to the situation is just, you got to do what you got to do, right?
And I was in the same boat. Like 3 months had passed, I still hadn't released anything, like nothing. And I was like, what do I do? And like, I was doing Zoom sessions. So we were trying to write songs over Zoom, but it's like the connection is shitty. I didn't have like enough equipment at home to sort of get a proper vocal down. It was just a mess. And it's very difficult. And we tried adapting and it was very, very difficult. And like you said, 3 months had passed, 4 months had passed, and nothing was released. And I was like, I need to release a song now. Like, now's the time. It's summer. I need to get something out to sort of keep the fans engaged. So it's crazy times.
Definitely. Is there any government support for musicians right now, like due to COVID? In Canada?
Not to my understanding. I mean, there's something like Factor is a big, like you can apply to get a grant, but that's not going out for everyone. It's just the same for everyone else.
Yeah. So you guys didn't get like, just like how they have CRB or CRB, like you guys don't have...
Not for musicians.
A slot. No. Oh. Why would they axe you guys from...
At least not for
like nothing knowledge. For artists?
Not from my knowledge. I mean, I'm not 100%. Not from my knowledge that they did.
You gotta get Adam to check.
Yeah,
there's gotta be something for you guys. So that's not fair.
I don't know.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
But another thing that I thought would be interesting, because the problem is like with musicians, you know, like you hear the end result, but you don't see the process. So I don't get to see how you make a song, for example, right? But I do get to see or hear the end result of that. Have you ever considered doing like behind the scenes look at, I mean, I think I actually did see a behind the scenes clip to one of the music videos that you were doing, but have you considered doing like a continuation of just behind the scenes following you writing a song to finishing it, editing it, making the album cover, releasing it, and sort of like showing that entire process start to finish?
Yeah, that was always in the plans for 2020, but like we both know, it was really difficult to sort of even get into a studio with just Adam and I. So having that extra person to sort of film all of this was difficult. But now, like before this whole new closure again, that's exactly what we were doing. And in fact, I had posted like a couple of like tiny 1-minute clips to my Instagram feed and page, just showing like I myself was just sort of editing and chopping these videos up, just showing how I wrote a song, getting in the booth. But eventually, 100%, I have so much footage, behind the scenes footage, that I want to be able to put together and sort of show exactly, like you said, a whole process of how we put a project out. So that'd be sick. And yeah, shout out to Nick, who basically comes and does all my behind the scenes.
Awesome. Why are behind the scenes people always named Nick?
I don't know.
I swear, every single person, like, I swear, even on podcasts and stuff like that, like, the guy's name
Nick
behind the camera is always Nick.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, no, he's lit. He's like a fly on the wall, but his energy is just so great. Like, he just comes in and he knows exactly sort of what I'm looking for, and he just sort of films everything. So it's nice to have him around.
That's awesome. And you were actually in Vancouver recently. Mm-hmm. Was that for like music reasons, or was that for just personal?
It wasn't for music, it was personal. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're just like visiting. Do you come to Vancouver often?
I try to come out once a year. I have a close friend of mine who lives out there, and I like to go visit her. I also love to ski, so getting out to Whistler is always like a nice thing to do. But
Yeah, as Vancouverites, we don't take advantage of Whistler as much as we should.
I feel like, yeah, when you live there, I have a weird feeling you guys just like don't.
We don't go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. We just don't go. I think it's because we do have like the 3 local mountains that are just like an hour away. And it's like way cheaper. But I mean, like Whistler is globally renowned. Like people just want to go there from all over the world. So I feel like we have this super amazing gem of a mountain that none of us in the city really take advantage of.
Yeah.
But also part of it is because it's so expensive.
It's so expensive.
I'm not gonna lie, like it's so crazy. Yeah. Like it's just insane to pay that much to just go skiing or snowboarding for one day. But I mean, the mountain is endless. So with so many different runs. So obviously, you know, if you're from a different part of the world, I could see it. But yeah, Vancouver, we just don't take advantage of Whistler as much as we should. I was actually supposed to go there this month, and I couldn't go because of COVID. Obviously.
Yeah, I feel like they recently had an outbreak, so I feel like it's a good thing I didn't go. Because when I was
we were, you know, I was just thinking like, oh, it would be a good time to go, and because just before Christmas, Whistler, like the places to stay is like super cheap. Like you could get a place that's like, I'm not even kidding, at the Westin. You can go look right now. The Westin in Whistler, suite, so like a full room with a kitchen and stuff like that. I think for a day, it's something like $1,600 or almost $2,000 for like a couple days. You could get that same suite in like November for free, or even before or after November, even early December. You can get that suite for somewhere around like $250 a day. Yeah, it's like a ridiculous jump in price.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason why I never go during the, you know, winter season. But usually in the fall, it's like super cheap and you could just go there for fairly cheap. So just a note to anyone wanting to go to Whistler who doesn't ski or snowboard, that is the pristine and ideal time to go.
For sure,
it's just during the fall.
Agreed.
When are you coming back to Vancouver after COVID's done?
Hopefully in the new year. I'd love to get back out there. I'd love to be able to ski. Obviously, I don't know I'm not gonna come out and ski if there's still restrictions and COVID's going on. But yeah, I would love to come out even in the spring/summertime. It's so beautiful out there. Like I love Vancouver. If I could live anywhere else in Canada than Toronto, it'd be Vancouver.
It's funny because I always have this conversation. People from Toronto always want to move to Vancouver, and people from Vancouver always want to move to Toronto.
Yeah.
And if you ask them, they always say the same thing. The people who moved from Vancouver to Toronto wanted the city life. Because there's no real, like, city life in Vancouver, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then the people who move from Toronto to Vancouver, they just love the mountains and, like, the nature aspect.
But see, I'm a city girl, like 100%. Yeah. I'm not the most like.
Then don't come here to stay.
No, but I love the vibe there. Like, I feel like it chills me out. Like, I feel like I am a city girl, but I feel like a part of me is like, nah, you need to like chill. I feel like the city just stresses me out. Like being kind of one with nature and just even though I'm not like climbing a mountain every day or going hiking, like. It's just a different vibe. The only thing I probably couldn't do is the rain every day. The rain for me would be
the rain was, because growing up here, the rain was never a problem for me personally. But and this goes back to me going on vacation. A few years ago, I went to LA, well, California in general. And I usually go to California like summertime or springtime. So I never really experienced California in the late fall, early winter. Mm-hmm. And we went there and man, it was like still 20 degrees, 21 degrees. I was wearing like a t-shirt and shorts. It was sunny. There was no rain. Ever since then, coming back to Vancouver and then just year after year, as soon as it gets fall to winter and it gets dark and rainy and gloomy, I totally just I have like this sort of down feeling like in my body of I can't take this anymore. You know, I just can't do it. And I was fine, totally fine until I went to LA that one fall winter. You know, it was between like just after Halloween, like it was November. And that's the moment of realization where I was like, dang, like I missed out
You're like, this is what I'm
on a
missing.
lot of
Yeah.
sunlight in my life. Like
Yeah.
vitamin D was lacking for sure.
Yeah.
So there is part of me that wishes like, oh, I got to move down to Cali or something like that. But you know, when you go on vacation, you come back to Vancouver. I don't know if this is the same for Toronto, but anywhere I go in the world, after I come back to Vancouver and you get home, you're just like, you realize you're like, no, man, this is the place to be. The air is just so much fresher, cleaner.
Yeah.
I can smell it when I get out of the airport.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
agree.
know if you're the same way.
No, 100%. Yeah, Toronto's always going to be home. It's always going to be home for me. As much as like I like I said earlier, I want to be able to live in LA and I want the best of both worlds. But that's just me dreaming. I mean, I feel like if you manifest it enough and you work hard enough for it, I can definitely achieve that one day. But we'll see. We'll honestly see where.
Well, I'll tell you something that another female musician once posted on her Instagram that I read. Do you know Likey Lee?
Yeah.
You probably do, yeah. She once posted on her Instagram. I remember this vividly. I don't know, it was along with a photo, but the caption read, dream the dreams that dreamers dream. Right? So it's like, dream the dream that dreamers dream.
Yeah.
So it's okay to have those dreams and be that dreamer because you could turn to those dreams into reality.
Yeah.
And
really
I don't know why, like that one, like it was just an Instagram post of hers. And I read that and I'm like, that's not just clever. Like that makes a lot of sense, or at least in my mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to dream those dreams because like those dreams could one day become a reality. But going back on traveling, if you could perform anywhere in the world, one place, and it could be anywhere, it could be whether it be an opera house or a stadium or whatever, but anywhere in the world that you'd want to perform, where would it be?
You're going to probably say that's like a lame answer, but the ACC, well, now would be the Scotiabank because it's hometown. And like, I've watched all the concerts that I've ever been to growing up there. So that's exactly where I'd want to be. That is like the ultimate dream performance spot for me.
So Toronto, I guess,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But you're in Toronto. Okay, outside of Toronto.
Okay,
I want a global
okay,
somewhere
sure.
where it's not home. It's out here, but yes, good answer on that because obviously everyone wants to.
Yeah, I was keeping it real. Like if I had to choose one spot, but anywhere in the world. Oh God, like I would love to perform like Australia or somewhere like super, super far, like just to know that my music like touched people that far away is just like a crazy concept. So I don't know if I would have like a specific place. Like I just want to tour the world and hopefully one day that happens. But yeah, I would say Australia would probably be one of the bigger places maybe for me. That'd be sick.
So let's say COVID ends. What would be, I guess, like, your plans for touring? Like, would you go anywhere or would you stay local? Like, would you have plans to go to Europe? Things like that?
Right off the bat, honestly, I will take any opportunity I obviously can. So if an opportunity arises, I will take it. But as of now, I feel like building what I have here would probably be the best idea. But we're looking into booking agents. So whatever they can find. And like, obviously I feel like here and the States. So whatever can sort of jump back and forth between countries, that would probably be like the easiest for me and like the most ideal. So.
Okay. And then as far as, I guess, platforms that help you get there. So, you have the YouTube channel. You're obviously on probably Spotify and Instagram and all these other platforms. Where do you see, I guess, the most influence in these social media platforms that helps you with your career? So, for example, a lot of people do well on TikTok or a lot of people do well on Instagram. What is, I guess, the social media platform that helps you maybe perform best?
I would probably say Instagram. I feel like that's where people find me the easiest and the fastest. It's also sort of where you can get to know me the best. And from there, you can obviously find all of my music. I mean, like everything is linked. So you'll be able to find my Spotify and my Apple Music and all of that. I'm an Apple Music girl, but I know majority of people listen to Spotify. So right now, in terms of putting music out, it's on all streaming platforms, but Spotify would probably be the most influential. So
It's actually pretty split between Spotify and Apple.
In terms of people listening, who listens to
Yeah.
the platform?
Yeah,
Fair enough.
it's actually like really close.
Fair enough,
Really
yeah.
close. In fact, in some months, Apple does better than Spotify does.
It's
I think
funny
that's
to
part of
me-
the reason why they brought in Joe Rogan or those contracts recently that they've signed, and the video aspect that they want to bring in
Yeah.
is because they are trying to compete more with Apple Music. But I mean, on my back end, at least, I see like stats, not just of my podcast, but in the general sense. And it seems that those two are like very, very close for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny
Yeah.
though, because a lot, like, I feel like majority of Apple Music listeners just roast and hate on Spotify, and Spotify users just like hate on Apple Music listeners. It's just funny.
Yeah, I use both. I don't know why you have to choose one. It's like being like, oh, forget about I don't know, Twitter. I only use Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, screw Twitter. I hate Twitter. But but yeah, it's like hating on one social media that provides the same service as another, but they're both just equally as strong, and they both provide this. So whatever streaming service you use is like totally fine. But is there a reason why you're not on both? You're not on Spotify at all?
No, I am on. I'm on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
my music's on all. I'm saying I personally just listen to music on Apple Music. But yeah, you can find my music on pretty much everywhere streaming platform. Yeah.
That's awesome. So how is it working with, I guess, those third-party companies? Because in one sense, we know that your music is getting a broad reach. But in another sense, do you feel like these third-party platforms are taking advantage of artists? We've heard that in the past, where they feel like they're not getting enough money for the amount of, I guess, content that they're producing, although they are receiving maybe more exposure because part of, I guess, the marketing and the search aspect is being done with them or for them. They have a platform that they could use to sort of reach an audience. So do you see that there are more cons or more benefits to using these platforms?
For me, I feel like it's 50-50. Just because, yes, you're right in the sense of, like, Spotify, for instance, does not pay songwriters very well. So, and even artists, you know what? Like, even the top artists in the world, like, they're not making their top revenue from Spotify. They're making it from performing live. So, they've made it difficult in that sense. It's very hard, you know, even when you have 1 million streams on Spotify, which is a huge number for a lot of people, you know what I mean? Like, I just hit 1 million streams, that's crazy, but you're not even getting paid as much as you would expect. Like, you're making $4,000 at most, and then if you're signed, you're splitting that with your label, and if you didn't write that song, you're splitting that with your songwriters, and it just, like, the list goes down. So the longer you can keep everything in-house and write for yourself and all of that, it's so much easier. But at the same time, it is like Spotify helps independent artists a lot with, like, the amount of playlists that they have, and they make it easy. Depending on how often you're releasing music, you can catch an algorithm, and it just, like, kind of explodes from there. And even something like TikTok, it's like, look how in the last year, how many artists have blown up because of TikTok, and like a 15-second clip of their song just goes crazy.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's a corrupt system regardless, in my opinion. But at the same time, it's like, it's a dog-eat-dog world. You're going to have to play the game, and, like, you just hope for the best that, you know, enough people will start listening to your music, and it'll lead to more opportunities, like being able to travel and perform live in different countries, and that's where you're going to make your money.
Yeah, I feel like where one provides more exposure, the other provides more revenue, right?
Yeah.
But the one that provides more revenue doesn't provide as much exposure per se.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree with you there. So that being said, what's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I'm dropping a song, Christmas. It's actually one of my favorite songs, I think, that I've ever written, and B, that'll be out as of yet. So
is it a Christmas song?
No, it's not a Christmas song. In fact, dropping it on Christmas I find is a little bit risky, because it's actually very, like, it's pretty
anti-Christmas.
No, imagine no. It's like, it's dark and it's moody, which is like the complete opposite. But that's just sort of where my music is headed right now, and I feel like it's a good setup song for 2021 and to see what people can expect in the new year. But yeah, so new song called Sour Cherry on Christmas. And then New Year, everything. Pretty much live stream show will probably be out within January. More releases in 2021. Looking to get on more live streams that are hosted from other companies, expanding the merch line. There's a lot planned. So I'm just excited for the new year. I'm excited for that new start and just a fresh new amount of days to sort of unleash this whole new, you know what I mean? Like just to sort of get everything out there properly.
It's funny because we're all waiting for like just this one day, January 1st to come, and
then watch something else.
We feel
happens.
like once we hit 2021, like, okay, we're all good, right?
No, yeah.
But like that might not happen.
No, of course not.
Like
That's
it might
why,
be
like, I still have
way
all these,
further in,
right? I'm not expecting. I hope you didn't take it that way. I'm not like, January.
No. I know. I'm just bringing up another point. Is like, what happens if 2021 is very similar to 2020?
A lot of people need to start putting that into perspective and realizing that could be the case, because it very might well be, and you still need to like figure your shit out. Like I as an independent artist, like I can only speak for myself, and it's like I can't just dwell on that and be like, oh, woe is me, like my music's not getting out there. I'm still going to be grinding and working as hard as I can to hopefully get my music out there to anyone.
I really hope that, the amount of effort that you're putting in and, the amount of work that you put in totally pays off. And you've definitely made a fan out of me. Because I didn't listen to pop music, and you are now the first pop artist that I actually now can say I listen to, and I will continue to listen to. I really did enjoy your music, and I'm actually happy that we connected, because otherwise I wouldn't have, maybe for at least a while, I wouldn't have heard any of your tracks just because I don't listen to pop music. So not only did my eyes open and shed a light on you as a Canadian artist, but also it sort of put me in a position where don't be a hypocrite, Mahyar, because all music can be good, not just the music that you commonly listen to. And that genre of pop has kind of adapted. We've seen that happen in, I'd say, the last like 10 years
you
at
want to
least.
know something though? Pop music is just anything that's like popping. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It doesn't always have to be this like stereotypical like what we were talking about earlier. It doesn't have to be that stereotypical like pop sound that everyone expects. Like something that's even like a rap artist is technically a pop artist just because they're popping at the moment. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I think that's the part where people get confused, going back in that, just because going back, like, let's say before the year 2000, or even in that realm, like pop music was a bit of more of a genre of a certain style or format, right? Yeah. Involving, I don't even want to bring these people up, but I will, involving like Backstreet Boys or like, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, you can go off the list, right? But now, you have seen that evolution where a lot of the pop songs that you do hear are a various type of, I guess, sound or track or style. Musician, like it's flavorful in various ways. It's variant. It's not just one style where you could sort of like fit country in its own style. And even some country music is a little poppy too, right? Exactly. Like it fits in that category. So I think that's one thing that I kind of was a little dismissive on, was that I just kind of forgot about that genre completely and sort of like put myself in this world where no, I need to find this music that is not known and underground, and like made in a friggin' garage, or in someone's basement or whatever. But that's not the case, and you definitely opened my eyes to that. And I do look forward to seeing everything you do. What is your ultimate end game, though? Like, where will you be able to sit back, kind of, and be happy with where your career has led? Or are you already there, No,
I definitely have so much more to accomplish, and so much more goals that I need to fulfill in order to sort of be able to sit back and have that feeling. But even then, I feel like this is everything to me. So I feel like I'll never just sit back and be like, now I can stop and relax. Like I'll always be making music. But I just want to be able to take care of my family and my friends. And I always say, like, my friends are genuinely like my family. They're all like my core group of girls are like my sisters. And I just want to be able to take care of everyone who's ever sort of believed in me and taken care of me growing up. And that to me is when I'll be able to sort of be like, okay, I've made it. And I want to be able to achieve everything off my list, like being able to tour the world and say I did it as an independent artist for as long as I possibly could and do it with the people that I started with. That to me is most important.
Yeah, that's great. Any last words? I honestly, like, I can't wait to be watching TV one day and just see you on TV.
Dude,
and be like, wow. Holy crap, how far people have come. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not saying that's going to be like 10 years down the road, because it could be totally sooner than that. But it'd be amazing to be able to see you, for example. I don't want to hype anything up or make, set your goals like super high or super low. Maybe,
no, but
I don't know.
But
something like even a Juno or, just an award, something where you get recognition for what you're doing would be great to see, beyond just the aspect of being noticed.
Yeah. I appreciate it more than you'll ever really know. The fact that you even just said, like, you really changed my mind on pop music, and you're a fan now. So thank you, for having me on here like that. Even now, just being able to sit down when we're kind of across the country from one another, and being able to sit down and actually have like a real genuine conversation with you is so important to me. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. And I'm sad that we weren't able, because when you were in Vancouver, there was a last minute kind of like, let's try to connect while you're here. And I couldn't do it, and I apologize for that. I wish I could have, and I wish we could get done. But, I definitely like to have you back on at some point, like in the future down the road. If you're not too busy in your lavish musical lifestyle, like,
dude,
once you're beyond podcasts and into the world of like being popular and just amazing and all this jazz, I hope to have you back anyway and just shoot the shit about what's going on just in the music industry as a whole, and with you again and catching up. That'd be great. But before I let you go, is there anything you would like to say?
I'll just plug myself real quick. But follow me on Instagram at Dallas Rodin, Rodin. You can buy merch on my website, dallasrodin.com. Find my music just under Dallas on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, anything that you basically listen to your music on. And I'm just excited for the new year. I'm excited to release more music, so look out for that. And new song December 25th. But like you said, this podcast will be out in the new year, so the song will be out. Go check that out. Sour Cherry by Dallas.
Yeah, I would want to post this before then, knowing this now. But the thing is, I have two other podcasts. One is going to be actually posted on Monday, but I have two podcasts that have to go up before this one.
Works for me,
I don't know if I'll get them all before then. But if I do, if I just happen to edit in time, I'll try to have this one up before then.
Don't even
and at least like the word gets spread out.
Because I'll be able to just sort of even have this out in general in the new year. So that'll be good for me. So don't rush it. Anything works.
Awesome. And for anyone listening or watching this, all the links to everything Dallas has said is going to be down below. Everything from her website to videos and all that jazz. So check that out. Dallas, thank you so much for being here with me today. This is the end of the No Fun City podcast. Peace out. That's it.
Today's episode of the No Fun City podcast is brought to you by Questrade. There's a new world in investing where the fees are low and you come first. It's time to switch. Head over to Questrade.com to check out do-it-yourself, self-directed investing. Take matters into your own hands, build your own investment portfolio with a self-directed account, and save on fees. Make your money work harder. Questrade is Canada's fastest growing online brokerage with over 21 years experience in the Canadian market, $18 billion in assets under administration, and a 9-time winner of the best managed companies in Canada. And you could rest assured knowing that your money is in good hands. They go above and beyond to protect your account with an additional $10 million in private insurance. so you know your money is safe. For more information, check out questrade.com. Just use the link in the description below.